Can you be with a new person if you're not quite over your ex? Hi, and welcome back to Ask Dr. Saira, the show where I answer your questions about spirituality, mental health, and relationships. So today's question comes from Al. Al says, can I be happy in this relationship if I'm not fully over my ex? Can I be happy in my relationship if I'm not fully over my ex? That's a good question. And for those who have had more than one love in their life, you've asked this question, right? That how do I move forward after the ending of a relationship? So, the first thing I want to acknowledge is that the end of a relationship can feel a bit like a grieving process, right? And as we know with grief and loss in general, it's not just like one day you're over it, right? The grief and the sadness, the disappointment, the regret, it can come in waves. So just when you think it's done, there's another wave, and it can come at the most strange times. Like I know that there's people who talk about they were with a person and then that relationship ended, they moved on and they got married to someone else, and actually like on their wedding day or around the time of the wedding ceremonies and celebrations they were thinking about what it might have been like to be with that other person. That's such a normal thing, so don't feel weird or bad or wrong for having those thoughts and those wonderings of like, what might it have been like and how might it have gone. So memories come in waves. Grief kind of takes time and it doesn't just happen overnight. One of the things you might want to ask yourself is, what is the purpose or the reason that you want to be in a relationship again? So one of the things I've noticed people do, and I would say regret, is getting into a relationship after an ending so that they're not alone, right? So rather being with anybody than be alone. One of the dangers in that is that you never really have a chance to integrate your loss, to kind of consider it and mull over it and heal it and like, kind of become a better person, become a different person before you kind of go looking for the next love. So just be really thoughtful about, why am I coming into this relationship? Is it just because I just don't want to be alone? Well, then maybe that's something to look at, because you know what? It's really good to be able to be in your own company. It's really healthy to enjoy your own company and not feel the desperation of needing another person around all the time. Now, that said, we're social mammals. We can't be alone all the time, but we should be able to be alone some of the time and be comfortable with that. So if you're running away from being alone, then I would suggest maybe not getting into that relationship, and maybe you're not ready to be in a relationship because that other person is just going to be filling your tank. You're looking to get something from that person, right? One of the ways to know if you're ready for your next relationship is to think about, are you ready to give again? Right? Rather than what can I get? Am I ready to give again? Am I ready to show up for someone again? Because relationships take that. That's what is required in a healthy relationship, is for both people to be willing to give and both people also be willing to receive. So what is the purpose of this relationship? Is it just so that I'm not lonely, or is there actually, I'm ready for the next valuable, meaningful engagement with a romantic partner? There's people who have had like love of their lives types of stories, right? And the relationship ends either by death or separation, or for some reason the relationship ends. And yes, those people have found love again, and it will never be the same love. So that's something to know, is it's never going to be the same. Every relationship will have its own kind of unique, it's kind of like hue, right? Like a particular hue, a particular shade, a particular density and contrast and brightness. There will be a hue for each relationship. And even though two relationships can feel kind of in the red spectrum, the tone and the subtlety of that red will be different. Because why? You are different. You are different with the passage of time. You are different with healing of old heartbreaks. You're changing, right? So what I've also really seen is you'll know when you're ready to kind of get out there again and be ready for and be open to love again. You'll know, you'll feel ready. If you're not feeling ready and it's been kind of like way too long in your opinion, well then there's help. You can get help in the grief and the letting go and the moving on, through professional help, through groups, through just talking with friends and loved ones about moving through this. Sometimes people get stuck in kind of a loop, right? Stuck in a loop, telling the same old stories about that person and not being really able to move forward. And that, I would say, that's when you're stuck in the grief of it and you're not actually going through a healing process. You're just kind of mired in the grief. And there's help for that. You can get through that. So how will you know, can you be in this new relationship? One of the things to be fair to your partner is to let them know, right? To let them know that you are getting over a recent heartbreak and you are moving through that, so that they're aware of what they're signing up for as well, right? And what they're getting into. I think one of the things, Russell Brand talks about this in his book, Recovery. He talks about how he, in the past, would get into relationships because of what he could get from people, what he could take from them, what he could have from them. And it's only after he went through the 12 steps and the program and getting clean and sober from addiction that he realized that the question really should be, what can I give here? Not what can I get here? And so I think if we take that mind frame, even if we're healing a hold of heartbreak, we can still give something. Right? We can still give something. And if you find you can't give, well, then maybe you're not ready. Maybe you're not ready to be in a relationship yet. And that's okay. Take your time. But make sure that you're not using the other person and just filling a gap. I mean, people do that, right? We have a language around it. We say like rebound relationships or whatever. And like, but I just find it I find it difficult to put my stamp on that because often in a relationship, one person will get more invested. And so if this is your rebound relationship and they're more invested in you, now you're just breaking hearts for no reason, right? So just being mindful about the impact that you're going to have on the other person if you're still nursing a heartache. And it is absolutely possible to be still getting over your ex 25 years later. You still might have like some little bruise that comes up to the surface to be healed. That's normal. You're never really going to get over it if you really cared for them and there's a really intimate connection. It takes time and it takes layers. And so you can absolutely be with a new person, even if you're nursing a heartbreak, but making sure you're actually healing that heartbreak, not just staying stuck in the grief of it. So those are my thoughts for today. If you have a question that you'd like answered on our show, make sure you send me an email and I will definitely make you a video. Take care. Bye.